The following was developed by public education agencies in association with the Agency for Instructional Technology. Together, programming for today's learner.
Identify the part. Clear? Okay, let's...
Sabi mo, sir. Kapitan, numabalbaling kumain.
Good. How's your family?
New ideas about improving food production are being developed every day. To have an impact on world agriculture, these new ideas must be tested and adopted or used by farmers. This program will examine how new ideas are adopted by asking the question, how does change occur? We will first focus on the Philippines, a country in Southeast Asia. Rice is the basic food for 6 out of 10 people in the world. One of the areas where rice is the most important crop is Southeast Asia. The color green on this map shows where rice is produced in Southeast Asia. For thousands of years, farmers in this region grew rice using the same time-honored techniques. Traditionally, there was a balance between the amount of rice produced and the number of people eating it. Recently, the balance was upset because the population began to grow so fast that not enough rice was being produced using traditional methods to meet people's needs. Now, that balance is being restored. The population continues to grow, but by using new types of rice and new farming techniques, farmers in the region are producing more rice than ever before. Rice production in the Philippines can illustrate this. What does this line graph say about rice production in the Philippines? It says that the amount of rice produced per person began to decline around 1955. After 1965, however, the situation began to gradually improve as more and more rice per person was produced. The Philippine village of San Bartolome lies north of the capital city Manila on the main island of Luzon. Fields of rice surround the village. Wherever there's enough water, rice is planted. Some fields have irrigation, while others depend upon rainfall alone. For centuries, rice production in the area has started with water buffalo, called carabao, being used to plow up the soil in the fields or paddies. The fields are flooded with water from rainfall or with irrigation from rivers and streams. Then the young rice plants are transplanted into the fields. When the rice is ready to be harvested, about 3 months later, everyone in the village, including the children, goes to work. After threshing by hand to remove the grain from the stalk, the women toss the grains of rice in bamboo trays to separate the full kernels from the empty ones, called chaff. Next, the paloi, or unmilled rice, is carried by buffalo to the mill, where it is weighed. Here, the rice is fed into a machine that takes the brown-colored husks off and polishes off the bran. Now the white rice is ready for the market. This line graph shows that the population of the country is growing quickly. To meet the food needs of this rapidly growing population, farmers in San Bartolome and other parts of the country need to adopt new farming practices that will increase food production. It is the job of the agricultural extension worker, Ibasan, to convince local farmers to adopt new methods of growing rice in place of the old. Ibasan acts as a change agent, taking new ideas that were developed and tested elsewhere and introducing them to the local farmers. Here he talks to the village headman or barrio captain about teaching a new method of planting to the villagers. Without the headman's help, Ibasan has no hope of influencing the others. Ibasan learned about these new rice production techniques at the Rice Research Institute near Manila. Here, agricultural extension agents come from all over to learn about rice.
I'll point to the parts and I'll ask you to identify the parts. Clear? Okay, let's start.
Change.
Unwise use of chemicals kill both the beneficial insects and the pest insects. The way we control our pests now is to preserve the good guys, the beneficial insects. And so when you go back to your country, you must realize that change must take place in the way we do pest control on agricultural crops.
Here, a scientist at the Rice Research Institute stresses the advantages of straight-row rice planting to a group of future change agents. At the Rice Research Institute, scientists are constantly working to make a new idea, in this case new types of rice, easier to understand, to use, and to accept.
Hello, Mr. Domingo. How are you? Hello, good morning. How's your family? Oh, well.
Ibasan and the headman talk to a local farmer, Pastor Domingo, about the new planting methods. Instead of planting the rice in a random method, Ibasan suggests that he plant rice in straight rows. Domingo is reluctant to change. Planting in straight rows requires a lot of labor. He will need to hire workers from the village, and that's expensive. Ibasan points out that Domingo will be able to produce much more rice, which will pay for the added workers. Domingo will also be able to buy a motorized plow to replace his carabao. Then, his sons will not need to spend so much time caring for the animal and can go to school. Domingo agrees to consider the change agent's advice.
To have the straight planting. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Captain.
Change comes slowly in San Bartolome, but when a change agent works through the local headman and is able to convince a farmer that life will be improved by adopting a new idea, change does take place. Now you have seen how new ideas about food production get adopted in the Philippines. How about other parts of the world? As in the Philippines, change agents are at work helping farmers in India increase their yields. Here, too, farmers have grown crops using the same techniques for hundreds of years. But now the population is growing rapidly, so new farm production techniques are needed. Like in the Philippines, change agents introduce new crop varieties. Irrigation projects are also being developed, and new machinery is being used. The result is more food. The western highlands of Guatemala are difficult to reach, so the government decided to use the radio as a way of getting information about new farming methods to the people. Local change agents helped farmers understand the radio messages. As a result of these efforts, changes were made in food production methods. Change agents are at work in the United States as well. Here a group of farmers listen as a change agent from a state university describes the advantages of no-till planting, a new way of growing crops without first preparing the soil. As is true whenever a new idea is presented to people, some are willing to adopt no-till planting and others are not. In this program, you saw several farmers. You learned how they came to adopt new ideas about food production. How are these people's lives affected by the adoption of new ideas?